to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We are streaming on all social media platforms, so subscribe, comment, share, or like. So we got for you today, MLB, the NBA, has officially taken a break from us. We'll be back to talk more free agency, big moves happening in the NBA, but we're going to stick right now to some baseball. Joe, you look a little confused.
I'm looking at the Cleveland Guardians logo, and I'm trying to figure out
breaking
what
news. There's
it
no
is.
more of the Cleveland Indian. It is going to be, after this season, the Cleveland Guardians. So we have a new, I shouldn't say new baseball team, but we have a new name to the baseball world, and it's the Cleveland Guardians. So we're going to talk about baseball, and we're going to also talk about some NFL. A lot of pushback right now. We're starting to see more and more big name players coming out and voicing their displeasure with this whole new COVID pushback, and maybe even losing paychecks, losing some money, or even losing games. We'll talk about that. And then we're going to have, like I said, our top 10 list of the most pressure, top 10 players facing the most pressure coming into 2021. Who do we got? I got the list. Nobody knows. Not even great Ted knows. Joe doesn't know anybody's list, but we're going to all talk about it.
Looks like a whale. Looks like a show. That don't look like a
You
whale.
look like a whale, Ted.
No,
Anyway,
bro. No,
Anyway.
listen. This was yesterday at 3 o'clock. That was outside of Narragansett yesterday.
is that a whale or a shark?
They said shark, but that don't look like no shark to me. That's a big
Don't
shark.
get me near those waters. I'm
So
terrified.
you're in Florida, you idiot. Have you not watched Shark Week?
No, bro, I'm working. I'm not watching Shark Week. I never watch Shark Week. I'm terrified of sharks.
Dude, it's on all day long. Vero Beach, Hollywood Beach.
All right, anyways.
They
Speaking
were
of
showing
terrifying,
in knee-deep water the shark. Did you see the video? Hold on. Did you see the video on Yahoo yesterday, Joe? Some guy was on the 23rd floor in Florida at the hotel, and he's just filming the ocean. There's two people out in the ocean. They can't be that deep. Maybe like 10 yards out. A hammerhead shark was swimming right toward them. They have no idea. Go look it up. Have no idea. The shark swims, then goes around them, then comes back, then leaves, then comes back. Dude, the shark had to be right below them. If she ever looked and saw the shark below him, and then the shark just swam away. But literally,
that gets me nervous just thinking about that. I'm terrified of sharks. I'm not terrified of a lot of things in the world, but I am terrified of sharks. I am petrified, actually, of sharks. Speaking of petrified, it must be the Yankees must be petrified to bring in Aroldis Chapman, because the New York Yankees had a golden opportunity last night. They won the last two games against the Boston Red Sox, so they finally are on the win column against the Sox this year. Looking like they could go up 3 straight on the Sox, and a much-needed victory was looking like in hand. Well, the Yankees had I wouldn't say major collapse, but it was a collapse, and probably one of the most disappointing, if not to Ted, the most disappointing loss of the 2021 season right now. My question is, we've been talking about this for years. When we first started back in 4 years ago at CSB, all we ever talked about was the New York Yankees bullpen. We talked about how it was the best bullpen in baseball by far. It was hands down. All you had to do was score 5-6 runs, and then you'd be fine. Because you had Britton, you had Tommy K, you had Ottavino, you had Chapman. Give me other names if I'm missing it. You had Betances when he was really good. This bullpen was so dominant. It was almost a guarantee at times. Now all of a sudden it's become maybe, and I'm going to ask this is our question to start off with the New York Yankees. Has the New York Yankees bullpen become their biggest weakness? And Joe, I want to start off with you. Has it become the number one weakness for the team? I know that their offense has been a big weakness at times. Their two big strengths at one point have become their major downfalls. But is this their biggest?
I don't think it's their biggest weakness. I still think their biggest weakness is a lack of basic fundamental baseball, stealing bases and fielding cleanly. But this strength has become a real problem. I wouldn't call it a weakness yet. I, for the life of me, don't see why Aroldis Chapman didn't get into the game last night. I don't see anything. I don't know if he was unavailable. I know he had gotten save the night before. I mean, there didn't really seem to be any rhyme or reason why he wasn't in there. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, he's only had 3 bad outings, Aroldis Chapman. So again, everyone that's freaking out about him, I don't get it. As far as the rest of the bullpen goes, I mean, Brooks Kreisky, that's not a guy you expect to see in that situation. I think Chad Green is completely overused at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is, you can't call the bullpen the weakness because it's 4 2/3 innings by the starters.
Yeah, I mean, last night they had to piece it together. Literally after the 5th inning, they were talking about it. Even with the last 9 outs, how are we going to get the last 9 outs? Sal Romano came in, got a couple key outs. Green, I looked at Britton the other day. Britton doesn't look the same from the injury he's had this year. And you're hoping he'll get better. Trev, I agree with Joe though. The bullpen's not the weakest issue. It's glaring because when you look at the 3 games that we would mention, the 2 games that we blew 4+ run leads in the 9th, and then last night, you'd be like, those stand out the most. They're like, I don't know. You can make like a bunch of mistakes, but that one big one, those stand out so much more. But I would say more clutch hitting. I mean, this team, though, has been more enjoyable to watch. But the bullpen, listen, there's no one glaring problem with the Yankees. It's a combination of a bunch of things: starting pitching, bullpen, and hitting, clutch hitting, moving guys over. And then when you put the whole formula together, it's just a disaster. It doesn't mesh well together.
I'm just saying in the sense of the downfall that it's had.
Well, why do you think? Listen, you came up with the question. Why did you think that?
Because you look at how this bullpen was once so dominant, and it will, like I said, previewing going into this question is, they almost felt like all you had to do at times for the Yankees for the past 3 years now, since we've been doing this show, is all you had to do was get about 4 or 5 runs. And it seemed like the Yankees' win percentage would be at a high because of that bullpen. You had a 6, 7, 8 guy, even with the starting pitching. We talked about at times, maybe when they didn't have a true ace, before they had Garrett Cole with Severino and Tanaka, we could have been like, all they got to do is just get to the 5th or 6th, and then you didn't have to worry because you still had Green, you still had Britton, you had Tommy K when he came in, Ottavino at times when he became a Yankee, you have Chapman, you have Betances. It's like those are 5 or 6 guys that during that time were some of the best in the entire game. And that's why I was saying all you needed was about 4 or 5 runs at times. I know the hitting has been a major downfall as well, but that bullpen was the backbone that kept that pitching staff going because we didn't have a true ace up until last year. Severino was amazing, but did we really think of him as a number 1 ace, like a Garrett Cole type guy? He was really good.
Well, here's the thing: how many guys are Garrett Cole in the league? Not many. There's one other guy. His name is
it's probably like 2 or 3.
Yeah, there's one other guy. Maybe Scherzer in a couple years.
And DeGrom.
This bullpen is not as good as what it has been the past couple years. That's obvious. All right. The overreaction of this bullpen.
And it was on top of it, it was a 3-1 lead. You're thinking, 3-1. Yankees got it. Bullpen, you got it in the bag. That's a 2-run lead, even with
nothing against the Red Sox is in the bag.
Red Sox offense that is very, very good this year. You still have that confidence. It's 3-1. Yankees pitching all night has been great. Looks like the Yankees are going to get 3 straight on the Sox. And to see that, it's like, damn, this really isn't the same bullpen that it once was. And that's why I'm saying it's not.
But why not leave a guy that has become a dependable reliever in Luis Cessa in the game? Why not go with a guy you know and trust?
And been there before.
I'll say this, and I see Tommy Della Cameras in the comments doing his thing there, and I love it. To me, this is another step in the right direction. Tom, I think you're right here about Aaron Boone. I mean, dude, this is a must-win game.
That too.
And Brooks Kreisky is the guy you brought in.
Is it also because they're limited because of certain guys with Loaiza out and Nestor Cortez Jr. who, look, I'm not saying those are guys that are going to be like, whoa, those guys are nasty.
But they're better guys. They're certainly better guys. But in the situation he was in, you need to bring your best guy in there. And it's not Brooks, is all I'm saying.
You're right about Boone, both of you guys, because you're on the hot. Look, Aaron Boone, you're on the hot seat. This is a make or break. Speaking of facing pressure, and we'll talk about that later on in the show with the NFL. Aaron Boone faces an immense much of pressure. He faces that much because if they don't get to the World Series, Aaron Boone's tenure as a New York Yankee manager will probably most likely come to an end. That's what happens. And in a situation like this, where you need every game because the Rays are playing well, and they also go add a huge bat in the lineup yesterday, Will Nelson Cruz Jr., who's been having another great solid season for the Twins and now with Rays. This is a must-win game. You need to win every game because you're already back in the win-loss column. About 6 games now in the standings? Right now? They're in third place. If anybody could get the standings quickly up for me as I'm speaking.
They were 7 coming out into the game last night, okay?
That's what I'm saying. 7 games. So every game is a must-win, especially in this division where you're going to have the Blue Jays still around. The Rays are doing their thing in the Red Sox. This is a must-win game. And Boone, yes, he's not the one that threw 4 wild pitches. The first pitcher actually to do that since 2008, R.A. Dickey. So that's how you know it's a rarity to see
First
that.
ever pitcher, though, to do it in extra innings.
But to see that happen, that's another bonehead decision by Aaron Boone where, like you said, Joe, you got to bring in your guy. You got to bring in your closer. You got to bring in Chapman, who just got his first save in over a month against the Phillies. That's telling you something how much trust they actually have in a Aroldis Chapman. I 100% agree with you, Joe, that Aaron Boone, you got to make better decisions because, sorry, your ass is on the line.
So again, right, you're right. I mean, he's not the guy that threw the wild pitches, but, if you were to tell me somebody was going to have a meltdown against the Red Sox and be terrible and Aroldis Chapman wasn't going to pitch, I wouldn't have thought Brooks Kreisky was going to be, in the 9th inning it's going to happen? Yeah, I wouldn't think that would be a guy that I would see. I don't know. He doesn't seem to have any urgency, Aaron Boone. I don't feel any sense of urgency from him in any way, shape, or form. It's always that's a tough one. Yeah, we're gonna have to come back strong tomorrow and get this thing straightened out. And it's like, when is that gonna happen?
Yeah, when's that? Yeah.
He's the least fiery manager ever.
So Boone had no regrets about putting Green in despite Cessa's scoreless 8th inning. Boone said he planned for Cessa to go 1 inning after throwing 30 pitches 2 nights ago.
He's a starter. The guy's been a starter most of his life. He can't go 30 pitches and go more. Give me a break. Boone's so stupid.
The analytics probably told you he can only go 30, and if he goes 31, his arm's going to fall off. With that being said, Green has 1 out, gives up the back-to-back singles, but the second single that he gave after he gave the single to Verdugo, Bobby Dalbec, right? He had 2 strikes on him. Pitch was right down the middle. I told you before the show, I thought Flora was playing way too deep in center field. Now, maybe you're trying to play preventative action where you keep everything in front of you, but you got to steal an out. And then you Christian Vasquez rips a gapper, and I'm like, here we go. I was ready to smash the table last night.
It's probably the worst loss of the entire 2021 season because of the situation they're at right now.
Here's my thing, Joe. Here's my thought process, and then you and Trev could finish it off. I told Trev as I was driving home from my haircut, I said, this is how I look at it, and the reason why I said it's the most devastating loss. You won 9 out of 12, right? We've won 4 of the last 4 series in a row. So you got to look at it positively. As much as we want to add the bullpen sucks, this stinks, that, blah, 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 shut up. They're still winning games, and they're winning series, which means you're playing 600 baseball, 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4. You win 9 out of 12. You win this game, you're 10 out of 13. You got Garrett Cole pitching tonight against Eduardo Rodriguez. With the assumption that every Yankee fan goes, Cole's beaten Red Sox lately, has pitched really well. It's been really dominant, found his stuff again. You would assume the Yankees would win again tonight. Now you win 2 in a row against the Red Sox. With the assumption that, okay, there's 2 more games left, we'll probably split the next 2. Now you win 3 out of 4 against the Red Sox. You gain a game on the Red Sox in the division. Momentum is starting to swing. Now you won 5 series in a row. Now you got 3 in a row against Tampa. You're supposed to have Jonathan Owiza and Gio Urshela are supposed to be coming back, I think, if not tonight, tomorrow. Hirogasha and Judge are coming back for the Tampa series. You win 3 out of 4 against Boston. You got Tampa for 3 coming up. You win 2 out of 3. Now you're on a roll. It's like the roller coaster. You like Superman. You've been going up. You've been climbing that ladder. It's all now. You just feel it. The guys are coming back. This team has been generating offense, un-Yankee-like. I'll put it this way. I know I'm all over the place. The Yankees team in general has been enjoyable to watch this week. They've had more guys be able to steal and run bases than I've seen in years. It's been really enjoyable. Bunts. They play with excitement. They play loose. They play looser than the guys that have $500 million contracts. And maybe because they feel like, hey, listen, this is our one shot. We got to make it happen. We got to do the best we can because we're probably going to Wilkes-Barre. This team is enjoyable to watch. I realize the team that's currently constructed will never win a World Series, but they're enjoyable to watch. And some of the guys who are not playing well need to take a look at these younger guys because they're making things out. Greg Allen. Can we just talk about him for a second? This was the first outfielder that the Yankees signed in the offseason from the Padres, or they traded for. Whatever, doesn't matter. They saw something that they liked. Do you realize he would have never came up if it wasn't for the guy tearing his ACL? And then the other guy, whatever, Mayberry or whatever, I'm probably pronouncing his last name. Ambergeri, yeah. Greg Allen would have never been on the roster, would have never got pulled up. I don't understand what the rest of the Yankees organization, scouts and analytic people are seeing, because since he's been up there, he's been a shot of enjoyment, excitement. He steals bases, makes plays in the outfield. He makes things happen. I mean, the other night he was 1 for 3, but he still had 2 walks, 2 runs, stolen base. I don't understand why he hadn't have an opportunity to play the outfield and be on this Yankee roster. You've been sitting with Gardner. Cliff Frazier over 1,000. You're trying to stick Miguel Andujar a square peg in a circle hole in left field. I don't understand the thought process with this team. And I know I was all over the place with the things, the roster and the record. I want to freak out and do it in a much more intellectual way. I just don't know how to do it. It's just very frustrating because I enjoy the team that's currently constructed right now. I'm like, oh, you rich bastards, stay away. Just do me a favor. Stay away. I like stealing bases. Odor last night, bunt the guy over. Glaber hits a sac fly. We're moving guys over. We're playing. The
best 4 games, they have like 10 stolen bases as a team. Joe, finish up with your one more thing about this.
19-26 versus the American League East is the Yankees' record. They have 4 losses now, and they're leading by multiple runs at the end of the 8th inning. No other team in baseball has more than 2. The Yankees can't afford many more of these horrible meltdowns. I don't want to catastrophize it. You know what I mean? Last night, it's not like that's the end of the year. Of
course not.
We're getting there. They had a chance last night to move within 6, and now you're back at 8. And, obviously Tampa, right up behind it. This is a make or break for the Yankees. As you mentioned, up 3-1, you're figuring like, oh, all right, yeah, this is all right. Things are kind of trending where you want them to. But this can't keep being 2 steps forward and 1 step back, because that's going to get you the 86 wins I talked about last week before the All-Star break that I think they're projected to get to.
And I sent you guys the video last night. They have to finish 42-26 to get to 93 wins, which that's where, like, if you're doing the football reference PFF, that's where baseball analytics say that the Yankees would have to get to, because that's where their assumption of where the Oakland A's would be at 93 wins, and that would be your second wild card spot. And last night's loss is just another reason why this team probably won't make the playoffs, unfortunately. And it'll be another excuse. But and you look at the Rays. I know we're not going to talk about, but they picked up Nelson Cruz. What do the Yankees do?
We'll talk all about that.
The trade deadline's coming up.
We're a week away from the MLB trade deadline. A lot of big names. A lot of big names are on the market this year. One of them being Trevor Story. Could he be a New York Yankee? Trust me, if there's breaking news with big time with Yankees or in just baseball, you'll hear it first from Keys to the City. But yes, another devastating loss. It felt like a playoff game in the sense of just the way they lost. It felt like that's the type of game it was last night. A much-needed victory was in hand, and the Yankees let it slip away. Very unfortunate to see. Speaking of unfortunate situations right now, is going on in the NFL currently between some players and this new COVID memo. And we all know, ladies and gentlemen, that COVID is still going on. That's the big question right now. What are these players going to do? When we talk about in the NFL, you know how it is. Money is almost everything. And when you start seeing paychecks on the line, games on the line, and players coming out and voicing their displeasure to see on Twitter, DeAndre Hopkins, Leonard Fournette, Matthew Judon, Jalen Ramsey, just some players, to see this even with Cole Beasley, who really started it. What are the players going to do, and how should they be able to, I don't know, kind of react to this? Are they reacting in the right way? How do you guys feel about this whole situation that's going on in the NFL, knowing that training camps are coming up right now? Football season is back in hand. College football is about to be going on. NFL is starting training camps already. We're underway. We're going to have our first football game in a couple weeks with the Hall of Fame game, and we got this big issue going on in the NFL. What will the players do, Joe? I'll let you get into this.
Listen, we all have our freedom and that idea that we don't want to be told what to do. And I get that. And being forced to do something you don't want to do, or being forced to take something that you don't want to take, sucks. But you don't always have a choice. At the end of the day, if these guys want to play NFL football, the belt's got to be tightened for the unvaccinated guys. It just has to. It's not fair to the other 40 or 50 guys on the team that did get vaccinated. Mm-hmm. Because, look, you have as much right as you want to not get a vaccine, right? Your rights and your freedoms, but I have rights and freedoms too. I have the right to go into my locker room and not be around somebody who's got COVID. Mm-hmm. So the overwhelming majority of players, and it seems as if all of the teams are strongly on board, as is the league, is to try to pressure these guys into either opting out or just getting vaccinated. Because, again, at the end of the day, you not getting vaccinated has a huge effect on people who also choose not to get vaccinated. It also has an effect on people who are vaccinated, who have a weak immune system or pre-existing conditions. Mm-hmm. You could still give it to your grandma, even though granny's vaccinated, and you could kill your grandmother. So there's a bigger story here. There's more to it. Every one of us idiots got a polio vaccine when we were little. That's why none of us has polio. None of you bitched about it. Nobody thinks much about it, but you don't have polio. It's been 5 generations of people since we had polio.
Yep, I know.
They literally force it on you as a child.
I know. Joe's my coworker was talking about this the other day, how that was a big thing in the 60s, the polio thing, when they said and people fought it to the end. Well, you got your shot. So to Joe's point, according to a person familiar with the situation, this is coming from the Washington Post, Trev. 78% of the NFL players have at least one vaccination dose. Yes. 14 of 32 teams have more than 85% of their players vaccinated. No team is below 50%. So and then, it said in an overall American population, 50% of the people are fully vaccinated, or 48%, 56.4% have had at least one dose. This is a private business. The NFL is a private business, folks. They're a billion-dollar business, just like any other private institution. They can do what the hell they want. If you don't want to play and you don't want to get vaccinated, no problem. Don't play. Don't get vaccinated. But we're just going to make your life miserable. And it's not that they're going to make your life miserable. When you go on the road, you're going to have to stay in the hotel room instead of going out to dinner with all your boys. If you're practicing, you got to get tested every day. If you're non-vaccinated, you get tested bi-weekly. There's a big difference. And then think about this. We're Giant fans, so let's just put it for the Giants. Week 16, week 17, what? We're 7-7, 8-7. Sweet mother God, it's the perfect evolution of beards.
Is that what Joe was laughing at? Yeah. I had to look. I was like, wait, what's going on? Anyway, Ted, sorry.
No, that's funny. I mean, there's and then when you said I'm looking,
we take care of our beards here. We take care.
So then you got you got whatever I got here. Then you got
your little chin here. Me and Joe got beards.
Then you got your lineup, and then Joe's got the full beard. Okay. Listen, I agree with Joe. It's your right. Listen, I agree with anyone, Trev, because we know how this goes. You're not vaccinated. Me and Joe are. I did it because of situations up here. And I also work for Yale University, which means by August 1st, if you're not vaccinated, you could possibly lose your job. And you'd be like, well, that's not right. That's not. No, I know it isn't right. Someone telling you what to do? God forbid. I know. I'm 18. I'm an adult. I could do whatever I want. Well, no, you can't. I can't just go rob or steal cars. I don't have to. I could talk on my cell phone. I'm just going to get a ticket. They're talking about the other day. People fought wearing seatbelts in cars. Well, now what they do is they put the sound system in your car, so every time you don't put your seatbelt, it goes ding, 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 ding. So you'd have to get a seatbelt. Listen, I agree with the players saying I don't want to be forced. That's fine. But if I'm a Giant fan and one of my players, not even a fan, if I'm on the Giants team and one of my teammates gets COVID and he passes it to the team where we're not able to play Week 17 against the Dallas Cowboys, and it's an opportunity for us not to make the playoffs, and then you cost me a paycheck, I'm going to be pretty pissed.
I think that's the biggest thing that's the players is the money. I think, like we said, the NFL, it's always been about money. When back in the day when Todd Gurley was like, why can't we get guaranteed salary contracts? I think that's the biggest thing. If they didn't put in this memo of losing paychecks, I think that maybe you would see a more positive response from the players. But in the sense of seeing, losing paychecks, that anytime you can play with a man's money, that's when people start. You see the differences. You see people trying to argue their issues.
Well, that's why when DeAndre Hopkins said freedom, Trevor, you and me, we've had this conversation with Dad. Everyone just thinks freedom, like I could do whatever I want. I could go 100 miles an hour on the highway. Well, you can, but you're going to get ticketed. People have to understand, just because you have freedom doesn't mean you can just run around and do what the hell you want.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe in today's society with our new president and everything going on, it's like free world. Everyone could just do what the hell you want. Did you see in California? They won't stop anyone. You can go into the grocery stores. They have it on video. Guys walking in, grabbing supplies from Target and stores and walking out. Anything less than $960, they're not going to prosecute. So that means I can just walk in, grab a $500 TV and some groceries and walk the hell out.
It is California.
On video.
Stuff is expensive.
Because they don't want a bigger issue. No, listen. This is a billion-dollar institution.
Before this
think
season goes, hold on.
If a game gets canceled, think about the amount of money lost for the NFL. It's a business. It's like if Joe's the boss, we're taking money out of Joe's pocket. You don't think he's going to say, there's going to be some penalties for that? That's what the NFL is saying. They're saying you don't have to get it. We're just going to make it where it's a pain in the ass.
Where do you so before this season, I'll ask you both before we get into our final segment, is what do you think? What's the matter? What's so funny?
Tommy's last comment.
Joe Biden's. See, everybody has the right to say. It's funny. In 4 years, we never got a I don't think we ever got a President Trump sucks on our show, but we got a Joe Biden sucks. Well, it is what it is. Everybody's got their own opinion. My thing is, before the start of this season, what do you think the players are going to do? Do you think the players eventually have to give in and go get fully vaccinated? Do you see it happening, or do you see still the pushback? Joe, I'll start with you, Joe. I'll finish off with Ted, and we'll get into our last point of the show.
I think they'll eventually all cave in and get the vaccine. I think eventually everybody will. When people get over themselves and their own stupidity and realize that, this is a once in a lifetime pandemic. There was, during they talk about the Spanish flu of 1817. There were anti-mask people then too. This country really hangs its hat on its freedoms and its liberties. And unfortunately, what they don't do is they don't put enough stock into community and team. And so you get this sort of selfishness until, unfortunately, and this is that cancel culture I know you guys hate, but where people have to be humiliated and embarrassed into acting like a normal person, doing what the norm is. Greater good here. That's ultimately what this comes down to. And, there's teams that have coaches that are in their 60s and 70s. You want to give your favorite coach COVID? Knock yourself out. You're an asshole. That's ultimately, at the end of the day, what this comes down to. If they want to sit out and not play this, then don't play. You don't have to play. That's your right. is that they're giving you the free, hey, I'm out. I don't want to get vaccinated. I don't want to play by your rules. Then don't. Plenty of guys out there that will.
Well, here's my thing. I don't think everyone's going to cave. I don't believe everyone's going to cave because that's not the world we live in. That's not the real world. I don't have a problem with not if everyone doesn't cave. That's fine. That's your personal choice. All I'm going to say is they're just going to go to a stricter policy and they'll have to live with it. If the NFL really wanted everyone to get vaccinated, then they should have had some type of incentive. Kind of like the working force. Like, hey, we need workers. We're willing to pay you $1,000 sign-up bonus to come work at our pizza place. Instead of like, hey, I just want a job and I want to have a living instead of living off everyone else's life, and living off the government. That's not how I was raised. Trip,
well, let me just correct you for a minute. You pay into unemployment insurance, so the government's not giving you anything but money that you've kicked to them years ago anyway through your unemployment insurance. So you're just getting back what's yours.
No, but don't you agree though? Like, and I'm not trying to get off the subject, but don't you agree with the way of businesses and for us around here? A lot of businesses haven't been able to open or stay up late or do certain things because the working force isn't willing. The working man is a sucker and doesn't want to work. And when I'm getting, $500 here, and then if I have a kid, I get another $350. So it's like, wait, if I'm getting $1,000 a week to just sit home on my ass and do nothing, why the hell would I, work?
Amen. Amen to that, Tommy.
Again, here's the difference, though, between, say, Jalen Ramsey and DeAndre Hopkins and, some mom who doesn't want to go work for $2.13 an hour at a restaurant.
No, I'm not trying to put them together.
But is it, you're right. Is it worth me going out there and risking my life for a few more bucks or a few less bucks when I can sit home and be safe and not get it?
We'll stop giving.
That's what we're looking at. For these guys to have the luxury to be able to go out and play football on national TV and living the high life. I'm just saying, small price to pay to have to go get vaccinated. These guys also have access to the best medical people in the world. Ask somebody. Talk to a doctor. Like Jalen Ramsey asking DeAndre Hopkins about COVID. You're not going to get the right answers from idiots. Well, you got to talk to your medical professionals. If you don't want to get a COVID shot, you know what you should do? Go talk to your doctor. Ask your doctor, hey, I want to weigh the risks and the rewards if I don't get a COVID shot. Do you think I should get one? Here's how I go about my life. Let your doctor advise you like you would on any other issue. But again, these players, I don't want to do it. The jury's still out. No, you read garbage because you're stupid. And you don't know the difference between facts and fiction. And it's unfortunate. Call your doctor if you're not sure if a COVID vaccine's right for you. If they don't think it is, they'll let you know that you're good to go. Again, somebody like Trevor, a young, healthy guy, Florida, not an ideal place to be for COVID, but Trevor probably survives. Trevor's not near mom and pop Keys. So he's not gonna pass it. I know they're vaccinated. Could still catch it vaccinated though.
So am I.
So now Trevor's got to go to his doctor and explain, hey, I see my parents, whenever I go up, whatever the case may be. Maybe your doctor says, hey, just when you go home, wear a mask.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't think everyone's going to cave because that's just not the world we live in. But we'll see what happens if it becomes an issue.
This issue's been going on for a year, well over a year and a half. And it's not going anywhere still. We're still going in the midst of all this pandemic. We're still going through it all as a world. They were about to cancel it. I mean, thankfully, the Olympics are going on as of right now.
That's a joke. The Olympics thing is a joke.
Oh, all right.
It comes down. They're just trying to make money because half the sponsors, all the major sponsors, pulled out. The head guy of Toyota.
Well, all I'm trying to say is that
Toyota didn't even show up today, and they're having no fans. So that just speaks to if it was safe enough, they would have. And we got 5 Americans who are already fully. Hold on. 5 Americans who are already fully vaccinated went over there and got COVID. Now they're not even able to present. All these people are going to go to the country, get COVID, and bring it all the way back to here.
And the best is you've got variants from all over the world, different variant strains all coming to one place and sending everybody home with all the potpourri of COVID viruses. Thanks, America. Thanks, Olympics. That's great.
We're going.
It's already a year late. Just have the goddamn thing next year. Who cares? Go to every two. Start every two after next, and then we're good to go. And then they can make even more money.
Hopefully, it's still not around because right now it's been going on since March of 2020, or even earlier, I should say December of 2019, where this all began.
It's going to continue because people are not going to get COVID, are not going to get their shots, and because no one tells me what to do, and that's the world we live in, and you're just going to keep getting variants because that's the way it is.
Well, let's get over to our final part of the show today. And look, there's pressure in all of the world. When we wake up every day, there's pressure on us to be better. There's pressure on athletes. There's pressure on everybody, doctors. Well, we're going to talk about, last week we did top 10 quarterbacks. This week, we're going to do our top 10 players. Not just, we're talking all players. Now, a lot of our list I look at right now, there are a lot of quarterbacks because the quarterbacks are the most important positions in all of sports. So, yes, they will be facing the most pressure, of course. Next week, we're going to do our top 5 games coming into the 2021 season. I'm going to keep doing more and more things like that until we get into the season. And
I like it. I like the way you do business.
Shut up, Ted. Anyways, let's get into it. I'm looking at these lists right now. And I want to start off with Joe because there's some names that are a bit surprising, and Joe did have an explanation for each, but then I told him to get rid of it so nobody saw it. So, Joe, we're going to start off with your list, and we'll get into it quickly.
Okay. What do you want to know? These guys are all
I'm looking at
immense pressure.
So my thing is, I look at two names. I would say Zach Wilson, why a rookie would be on, and then
I'll tell you why Zach Wilson. I'll make it easy for you.
Hold on, you asked too much question. Let him say it, Trey.
I'll make this easy for you. It's a simple, short answer. Should they have taken Justin Fields? That question is going to be on Zach Wilson's back from his first snap until he becomes better than Justin Fields.
Fair enough.
And if he doesn't, then the question never goes away.
And I'm surprised that you have a guy who, I want to know, who's Matthew Stafford? New guy in the NFL? He said Matthew Stafford.
Well, he's in California, so.
He is in California. My thing is.
He's going Hollywood, baby. He's going to change his name.
I see Jimmy G on this list, but I don't think Jimmy G faces pressure because he's eventually going to be eventually gone from San Fran.
And this is why I say this, because Jimmy G could get the Niners off to a 10-0 start, and they might still bench him. They might still hand it over to Trey Lance. This is more about Trey Lance and his development than it is about what Jimmy G does. So there's an immense amount of pressure on him because I think the second he has a 4 interception game, that's going to be the last. Bye, Jimmy.
Would that be the same explanation for Cam Newton too? With the Patriots?
Yeah. Again, but here's the difference between Jimmy and Cam is, I think Cam Newton will be the starting quarterback in New England as long as he plays well. And that's why Jimmy's down on the list because, again, Jimmy Garoppolo, I seriously believe this, could be 12-7 when the year's over. And they might be like, you know what? The kid's ready. Let's start him in the playoffs. I really do think that's how much they like that kid.
That ain't happening. That ain't happening. But can I tell you? No,
an exaggeration. But I'm telling you that team could be 8-2. They might make the move. Jimmy G's his status there is so tentative. It's not even funny.
Joe, I tell you? I agree with you.
Cam has to win in order to stay as the quarterback, and I think that's going to be really tough for him. That's why he's so high up.
Fair enough.
So Joseph, with your 8 and 9, I had them on my original list. And then I removed them and put them at 11 and 12. I gave Trevor the top 12. I put the 10 and I said my 2 wild cards. I also sent them my top 4 Giants with pressure. And I understand the Big Ben thing. Last part of the season, Steelers didn't finish strong. Got a lot of pressure, even though Jimmy G, I agree with you. There is pressure. I was going to have him too because every game is going to be pressure because the first game he plays bad, he'll probably get dropped. He'll probably have a 4-game window. And then after the 4 games, if they're 2-2, they'll probably move on from Trey Lance. But if they're 3-1, he'll be able to keep his job. And the longer he plays well, the better opportunity he'll be able to keep his job or get moved at the trade deadline, which will benefit him. If he plays like crap, he'll lose value. The reason why I have a real question, hold on, Trev, is why 3 is 3? Why the person at 3 is at 3 and not 7, 8, 9? And the reason why I asked you that is because the team he's going to has no expectation to make the playoffs this year. Now, I know he left the New York Jets, and there's always pressure when you get traded, and they picked up his option. But why at 3? Why more Sam Darnold at 3 than anywhere else?
Sam Darnold has to prove this year that he's an NFL starting quarterback. Or he's a clipboard guy for the rest of his life.
There's no excuse anymore. I 100% would agree with you.
But you think he's got more pressure than Daniel Jones?
Hold on.
Listen, can I just tell you? I'll just explain why my top 4 are my top 4.
Yeah.
Factor in the age of these guys too. To me, I mean, dude, Aaron Rodgers is talking about going and hosting Jeopardy. Like, this is a weird situation for him. He's really, I think, carried himself poorly and has put himself in a position where if he's not the best Aaron Rodgers he's ever been, he's going to look like an idiot. This to me has devastating consequences for him, especially if he wants to get out of town. Again, Cam Newton is playing for the status of being a starting quarterback, and he's got a rookie behind him everybody wants. That's why he's ahead of Darnold, who, again, is literally fighting to prove he belongs in the NFL. J.J. Watt wanted to win a Pro Bowl, but he decided to take the money in Arizona. That team's not good enough to go to a Super Bowl. He knows it. A lot of pressure for him to be the best J.J. Watt we've seen this decade. Daniel Jones, again, no longer the starting quarterback. Again, Wilson, that's always going to be there. And then I rounded it out with, again, the guys who I feel like this is a make or break. I don't think Matthew Stafford or Stafford or any of the Matthews are going to be good quarterbacks this year. I think this is it's a make or break for this guy. They're talking Super Bowl. I'm not convinced that he's close to being that good. Big Ben, farewell song. He's another one. He may not make it through the season. And then the last but not least, Tom Brady should have retired. Tom should have retired.
What do you mean?
What do you do for an encore?
Just keep winning.
Does he win the division? Hold on. Does he win the division and he loses in the NFC Championship game? Then what? Does he come back again?
He's gonna be 45 years old.
No. But he's gotta win the Super Bowl on his way out the door. Tom Brady has to win a Super Bowl and then say, bye, everybody. Here's another one of these rings. If he doesn't, dude, what an opportunity to retire last year, winning the goddamn Super Bowl at home while Bill Belichick was like 0-25. What an amazing, amazing opportunity. I don't know how. I just don't know how Tom can top it. That's why he's got pressure.
You know how he tops it? When he tries to put 50 on Belichick this season.
Week 4, baby.
And also, if you saw the Twitter last night and you saw the post game thing last night with Brady, you know what his favorite ring is, Joe? The next one.
He's coming for 8. So, Ted, we're going to get into Ted's list.
Last thought. Just my last thought. Again, if, and I mean, they're so good, I doubt it. But again, what if they miss the playoffs? Or we've seen with Ben Roethlisberger.
The Bucs are not missing the playoffs.
What if he blows out a knee week 1? Listen, a lot of things could happen.
They got Blake.
A lot of things could happen, but again, look at the start Ben Roethlisberger had last year, and look at the finish. Look at Rivers. Look at Eli. 1 minute, people are like, yeah, he's still got it, and then 2 games later, like, he's a bum. He's done. He's over. That's it. He can't make the throws anymore, and you're over. So again, for me, too, Tom Brady proved to the world. I don't need Bill. I'll go to Tampa. Yeah, sure. Super Bowl in their stadium. Are you kidding me? I walk off the field with my beautiful wife and kids, and I'm like, I'll probably be back. No, get the hell out of there, bro.
He's thirsty for more.
He wants more. Ted, let's get into your list. I see a lot of guys that I like. I'm surprised you have I want to ask, because the other guys that are on this list, I have no issue with. Why number 10? Why Matt Ryan?
Because they chose a tight end over the future quarterback.
I don't think he did.
Doesn't matter. That's pressure. Matt Ryan's 19-28 in the past 3 seasons. He's always put up great stats. I've always liked Matt Ryan. Number 1 pick. Always thought he was could have, should have. I feel like he's the poor man Tom Brady. Just didn't have the team surrounded him. Wasn't a Super Bowl. 28-3 loss. There's no Julio Jones. More pressure for you to put on the quarterback. When you decide, like the Giants did, to skip and not take a quarterback and go with Eli Manning, that put more pressure on Eli to succeed because they thought the Atlanta Falcons, we talked about this when draft time. This was our big thing. What are the Atlanta Hawks? What do the Atlanta Falcons do? Do you take a young quarterback and set your future up with Justin Fields, sitting behind Matt Ryan and run and set yourself for the next 10 to 15 years, similar to what the Packers tried to do, similar to what other teams have done early, and it's worked out just like the Chargers did and other teams. You chose Matt Ryan to stick with him and his big contract, which means you're going to keep him for the next 2 to 3 years. There's a pressure. If he plays awful, it's going to look poorly on the on the team and the organization. It's going to make them look like fools, and I think it's going to be one of those big time guys that you're going to talk about what ifs in the future. Like, this guy had it all. First round pick, was in the NFC Championship games, was in the Super Bowl, had a 28-3 lead, had Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. I'm missing a couple guys, but it had abundance of talent. All right. And you could say, the defense was poor, but it always falls back on the quarterback. And I looked at it was, who's got more pressure, Big Ben, Matt Ryan, or Jimmy G? Well, I'm like, Jimmy G, he's playing for his job, but they got a rookie, so that's somewhat pressure. I think it's Matt Ryan. Big Ben, we know he's off into the sunset, and I don't look at the Steelers as a Super Bowl contender this year. They lost too many pieces from last year's team. So I'm like, Matt Ryan, where are you at, bro? Big Ben's got a Super Bowl. He's got 2 of them, all right? He's been in the playoffs like every single year since he's been in. What have you done lately? So I'm just he's got to be put in there.
All right. You want to? You could explain. Stafford. Why Stafford?
No, do you have any questions? I'll let Joe ask, and then I'll go through
Joe,
my.
If you got any questions, go on. Joe.
Yeah.
No, he's looking.
He's still thinking about Brady right now. Why he didn't go off into the sunset?
No. I'll be honest. I'll say this. I didn't love the Matt Ryan until he explained it, and now I totally do. Okay. I'm curious why Baker Mayfield is so high up on this list.
Because this is the last year of this team currently constructed. They have all the superstars. They have the 2 tight ends. They have the 2 running backs. They have the 3 receivers, Higgins, Odell, Landry. They just brought in Clowney. They got an awesome draft class. Yeah. After this, they are going to have to pay him, Joe, big money. We're talking $25, $30+ million a year. Half that team will not be put to curling constructed. We know what happens. Happens to every team once you sign their quarterback big money. And Kareem Hunt, see you later. Because here's the thing. They're going to have to pay Nick Chubb. They're going to have to pay Nick Chubb. That's another guy. Odell's coming to his contract. He'll probably get shipped off. You're going to lose one of your tight ends, David Njoku. Your line, this could be the best curling offensive line in football this year. Because
you're going to have every team in the NFL right now.
They're going to be healthy. You think about this team. I don't think they're maybe more talented team than them in the NFL. They got
the Chiefs and the Bucs.
They got Landry, Beckham, and Rashad Higgins. Okay, you got Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. 2 running backs that could be starting for anyone in the NFL. Baker Mayfield, you were the number 1 pick too, Joe. Listen, you played good last year, right? You played really good in the playoffs. Now, what's your encore going to be? Is it going to be like one of those movies where it just falls apart, or are you going to be something better? Is Godfather 2 going to be just like Godfather 2 was better than Godfather 1?
Nothing beats the first one.
Oh, it does beat the first one.
For your father.
Yeah. Stop.
I like you.
That's why I put Mayfield. And the reason why the 4 guys are where the 1, 2, 4 is all 4 of those teams should be Super Bowl contenders and should be in the Super Bowl this year. Matthew Stafford went to the Rams. You gave up all those picks. Jared Goff. He's supposed to be the difference maker. And now why he's number 1 and not Mayfield is because Cam Akers just got hurt and is out for the season. So that puts more intense pressure on Matthew Stafford, right? The excuse with him in Detroit was he didn't have a running game. He didn't have the talent players surrounded him. Well, now you have everything that you would want in a quarterback. Go prove it in a tough division with a team like Kyle Murray, with a team like Russell Wilson, with a team like Jimmy G and the 49ers who are going to be healthy. Mayfield, Super Bowl. Tannehill. Why he's 3? You just got Julio Jones. You got A.J. Brown. You got Derrick Henry. How many years do you think Derrick Henry is going to be the best running back? You have a short window in the NFL to be great. They're going to get their lineman, Taylor Lewan, back. They're going to have their offensive line back. Their defense should be better. This is a playoff team. They have an opportunity. They were in the AFC Championship game, yeah.
3 years ago.
3 years ago. Mayfield last year. That's why. And then Carson Wentz. All right, he was supposed to be the next big thing. Remember, we had our boy Brian Forrester. He was loving him. What was it, Ginger Jesus? Who knows? Whatever he was calling him. Who cares what he is? He was
Ginger Jesus. I almost forgot about that.
Yeah, he's always called Ginger Jesus.
With that being said, Trevor's talked about this. The Colts are a Super Bowl team. Mm-hmm. They have one of the best offensive lines. They have a good running back. They drafted a good wide receiver last year out of USC. Their defense is good. They're going to have Darius Leonard resign. Their defense is good. DeForest Buckner. They should win the division, possibly, especially now. I mean, it's going to be him and Tannehill. So who's going to be better? Is it going to be Tannehill or Wentz? Daniel Jones is the obvious. I'm going to go real – hold on, Trevor. I'll finish it real quick.
You never go real quick. This is always –
stop talking and I'll finish.
Daniel
Jones is the obvious choice. We all know why. He's a giant. With all the talent that's surrounding him, if he doesn't play well, he's out the door. Dak, he just got paid. Every single year, we've been talking since 96, Dallas Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. He's healthy. They got the team back. Their 3 offensive linemen are back. Is he going to go more than 8-8 in a regular season? Is he going to be a guy that can lead them to the NFC Championship and possible Super Bowl? The reason why I have Saquon, if he has a poor season, what happens? And that pick's going to look awful for the Giants. All right. And then it's going to be –
he's gone.
Jameis Winston, I say he's fighting for his career. There's no better situation that he is in as quarterback. You got Sean Payton, you got Alvin Kamara, you got Michael Thomas, you have great offensive line, you have defense.
One of the most complete teams in the NFL.
And you might not have to play all the snaps because you have Taysom Hill coming in. All right? If he plays poorly, as Joe said with Sam Darnold, get ready to be a backup for the rest of your career. Or, like we've seen before, guys disappear because you know what? Every year you're going to have 4 new quarterbacks in. And guys just disappear. That's the thing. And the reason why I have Odell in there, and I thought about J.J. Watt too because he chose the money over going to like the Browns or some of the other teams. Odell, where have you been? Where Odell has been. He has not been seen since he was a giant in a one-handed catch. If Odell Beckham doesn't make that one-handed catch, do we ever talk about Odell Beckham? He was supposed to be the difference maker for the Browns. He was supposed to be the Super Bowl. He was supposed to be that guy. That's what Julio Jones went to Tennessee is supposed to be. You know, every team's looking for that star receiver to make the difference. You know what I mean? Odell hasn't been able to stay healthy, and the Browns have not actually been better when he's been on the field. Even though he is a difference maker, the record-wise hasn't shown.
All right, guys. Ask me a question. Here's my list.
I agree with the Baker. Lamar, I understand because it's like everything. Oh, that's who I forgot to put in. Holy smokes. That's who I forgot to put in. Tua.
I can't believe you guys didn't have a couple of these guys in here. Kyler Murray, Herbert, Tua. Joe, you on mute?
Yeah, I don't think Tua's, I don't think he's got a lot of pressure on him.
Oh, he's got some bad.
They're pretty cake sitch over there.
How so, though?
Because he wasn't really that good last year in the 9 starts.
That's what makes it worse.
Oh, no.
And he was a top 5 pick. And also the Dolphins.
They were talking about trading him in the offseason.
And the Dolphins chose, and you also got to think, this is like the Zach Wilson thing. They chose Tua over Herbert. Right now, the Chargers are loving that pick, and the Dolphins are thinking, coming into this year, if Tua plays like last year, those 9 games, where yes, he won games because they had a talented team. This is a talented team. This is a team that's going to compete in the AFC right now. They're in a win-now mode, the Dolphins. If Tua struggles again, the Miami Dolphins are going to be desperately looking for a quarterback very soon. And that's why they haven't had a quarterback since freaking Dan Marino. They thought Tua would be the answer. They've been saying it, tank for Tua, tank for Tua, tank for Tua. Guess what? They got Tua at 5. They took him over Herbert. We all thought, Herbert might go to the Dolphins. Well, look at it now. Tua's – it's like the Daniel Jones thing, too. He's about a half of a season. 8 games, I guess we should say now. Is that still half a season because it's 17 games now? He got 9 games to prove, is he going to be a starting quarterback, or is he going to be like what you guys had with Sam Darnold and Jameis Winston, a couple of former high top 5 picks? Are they going to be guys that are holding clipboards for the rest of their careers? That's why I have Tua in there, just because that team is in a win-now mode right now. They're going to compete in the AFC East. I know the Bills are legit, and they're going to be the cream of the crop in the AFC East.
So listen, then either Miami definitely believes in him, because I don't think they
definitely believe. I think they don't want to say they're scared and want to and bail too early.
Yeah, but listen, if you're in a win now mode, and this you could have kept Fitzpatrick and had this kid ride the pine for a little bit longer. He's definitely not ready, and I don't think he's going to be good this year. I think you're going to see more. I think you're going to see more of what you saw. I think you're going to see a better all around quarterback, but I don't think. I mean, it's really early in his career, and. Are we going to get rid of your number 5 pick, your number 5 overall pick next year? No, of course not.
They might just have him on the bench.
It's happened before.
I think he would get at least, again, unless he was abysmal, I think he would get 2022 no matter what.
They did it. The Tennessee Titans did it with Mariota. Mariota started off hot, and then he kind of
5-12, 6-11. That's not going to be good enough. I understand the Julio thing, similar to what Odell, because he wanted out. He got it. He went to a team.
And he's on a team that is going to compete in the AFC.
I wouldn't put Julio over Carson Wentz. More pressure to succeed.
That's fine.
Why Kyler Murray at 4?
Because I think that's another team that's in a win-now mode, believe it or not. They went out at A.J. Green, big-name players. They went after J.J. Watt. This is a team that's going to compete. They have a great offense. Well, we all got to let's see what happens with DeAndre Hopkins and that whole situation going on, too. We have to take into consideration. But this guy was a former number 1 pick, one of the best athletes in the game, and he's on the edge of a contract too. Like, he's a guy that, are we going to give him a massive contract? Is he going to be the future quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals? And this is a team that, yes, it's in a very, very tough division, but still is going to be a competitive team. They were a game away from making the playoffs. If they beat the Rams early in week 17 last year, this Arizona Cardinals are in the playoffs. But also you got to take into consideration his health. This was the number 1 pick. We talked about his size. Very short quarterback. Got injured early on last year, a lot throughout the season. But I put Kyler just because that team is going to compete, just like Cliff Kingsbury. His job's on the line too. If they have another disappointing season, then I could see Cliff Kingsbury easily being fired. And then Kyler Murray, I don't know, but he's one of those quarterbacks that face a lot of pressure going into this season because of the players they went into the draft and tried to surround him with some offensive pieces.
I agree on that front, but again, the fact that they spent a first-round pick on him, having just spent one on Rosen the year before, you're not spending another number 1 pick on a QB a year from now. I think you still got to ride the pine out on this kid and hope that it takes off. He was your redo on Rosen. I don't know that there can be another one. That would be devastating for this franchise if they have to do that.
So the reason why I went Baker, Ted, I'm not even going to give into the explanation because you already gave it previous one. There's the pressure is all on the Cleveland Browns. This is a team that we're saying maybe the most complete team in the NFL, even more than the Buccaneers and the Chiefs. So Baker, that's on you. Lamar, it's the same thing with you. You're about to get a big contract extension. He's seeking maybe 40, 45 million per year. I was looking at a report on Colin yesterday, which, I mean, if you're getting that money, you're supposed to be the guy. And look, we always complain he didn't have weapons. Well, you went out and got Rashad Bateman, who's going to be, I think, an excellent weapon for him. You went out and got Sammy Watkins. You still got Mark Andrews, Marquise Brown. You lose your left tackle, which is concerning. Your all-pro left tackle, Orlando Brown, which we have to take into consideration is a huge loss. But Lamar, you are a former MVP. You haven't been able to win in the playoffs. We talked about that. It's your time now. It's time to win and you got weapons. It's time to win. You're one of the most complete teams in the AFC. You're going to be competing for an AFC title. It's on you. And we talked about that, Joe, and that's why you've had your concerns with Lamar. Stafford, Ted, you already explained it. No need to explain. Kyler, I just gave you. Daniel Jones is funny. We all had Daniel Jones at number 5. I went with Dak because, well, you got your big contract. You got your big money. Guess what? You have to perform like an elite quarterback now. And
listen, not for nothing.
You're the Dallas Cowboys, too, on top of it.
Has what should, in theory, based on Dak and that offense, should be the favorite for the division, but could just as easily come in last place because of how bad the defense is. Yeah, I like the Dak one. I like that a lot.
So I went with Herbert too because, well, everybody's saying he's the dark horse MVP candidate. Everybody's loving the Chargers, the dark horse team that can maybe compete in the AFC against the Chiefs. Joe's favorite NFL player.
Well, not everybody,
but why? But a lot of people have him as a MVP favorite. And this is a team that can compete in the AFC. They went out and got Corey Linsley. They revamped the offense with Rashawn Slater, a great pick in the first round. And they got one of the most talented rosters. They always do. It's been like that. When we think of the Chargers, even when they had Breeze, when they had Rivers, they always had talent. Justin Herbert, you're probably one of the best young quarterbacks in the game right now. You have to continue this consistency. It's like a Josh Allen thing. Saquon, if he goes down again with an unfortunate injury, knock on wood, we're hoping all three of us don't see that again. And his days as a New York Giant are going to be numbered. Julio, he went to Tennessee. You got Derrick Henry. You got A.J. Brown. This is a team that I want to see if you could still play at a high level too. We got to also take into consideration that Julio has been one of the best in this game during our time watching. I want to see if he can continue and stay healthy and try to help this Tennessee offense. And then when I said with Tua, I think that the leash it's getting looser because of the sense of if he plays bad. And I don't think the reason why Tua's he's going to be the starting quarterback is because the Dolphins were afraid to go out and call Houston because of the whole Deshaun Watson situation. I really think that if Deshaun Watson doesn't have these issues that have been going on with him, I think the Miami Dolphins would have been going maybe all in and calling Houston a lot. But I have what's up?
Maybe I was going to say before you finish, depending on how Tua plays, maybe the Dolphins call somebody up north in Green Bay if something transpires.
So those are our top 10 players. Look, there's a million players in the NFL. We could have picked anybody. We went with those 10 guys. All great list, all interesting list. Next week we'll give our top 5 games coming into the 2021 season. And we'll also be talking MLB because a week from today will be the trade deadline. Are the Yankees going to make a big splash? How about the Mets, the Cubs? Are they going to get rid of are they going to disband the band? What are they going to do? A lot going on in baseball, a lot going on in football. I cannot wait. Clovercrest Media, or I should say before, we are streaming on all social media platforms, so subscribe, comment, share, and like. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. Hold on. We are out.
Yeah. Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we're unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.